Okay, shalom, shalom. Kwam Yasha'Allah, Koholoimla, Yahawah, Bahashim, Yahawashai, Bahashim, Rakahakodash, and double honors to our apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well, that by the Spirit taught us His beautiful truth. Just want to take the water to all the H.I.M and Akwaf that's out here sincerely keeping the laws, the statutes, and commandments of Yahawah, Bahashim, Yahawashai to the best of their ability. This is Achananawach. Just coming at you with another quick lesson, praying that it's edifying by the Spirit. And this article is in Fortune. It says the demographic dividend of the last 40 years is ending. J.P. Morgan says the world is running out of the two things that keep interest rates down. All right? So let's get a little bit into it. In 2025, the IMF reported that across the globe, companies, households, and countries had amassed $251 trillion in debt. And who you think this is owed to? Those elite Edomites. Mainly those small tops, man. 251 trillion globally, though. So why is it that the world owes all this money to this one race of people? You have to ask yourself that. When you have all this land and you have a currency that ain't shit, because real assets are gold, silver, land, cattle, things of that nature. And these people have hoarded all these things up. And now they're telling all the rest of the population on the planet that, you owe them some paper money back. You got to work all your damn life to give them back something that don't even exist really in reality. It's crazy, bro. And that's one of the reasons the Lord is coming. And the main real slaves on this planet, because they have enslaved their own people, but the people that have been enslaved the longest and the most harshest is the so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, which are the Israelites. We're going through it. It's just so happened that now the rest of these other nations, they're going through it now. And that's the reason why you're starting to hear about a lot of this, pain and anguish, so to speak. I'll put it that way. Right. So let's get a little more. It says, looking towards the end of 2026, J.P. Morgan has warned that the interest rates on such borrowings are set to spike, owing largely to dwindling populations and diminishing fiscal discipline. Because when you think about it, you got all these nations, nations got their own land. They have their own resources. They have their own place where they can plant. And, some places are more fertile than others, but there's a such thing as a bartering system. And that's where you get, like exports, imports, trade, things of that nature like that. But Esau, Edom, the so-called white man, he comes through with the monopoly money. The dollar that's not backed by shit. And he's got everybody stressed all out about some shit that really just don't exist. When these countries can do their own thing. And that's one of the reasons, too, when you got BRICS, the BRICS nations, they're starting to pull away from that dollar. That's the reason why, these Americans basically, or these Edomites over here, they're so mad with these BRICS nations because those BRICS nations are starting to trade and barter and move, commodity, so to speak, in their own way. You give me this, I'll give you that. You need this, I got that. I need that, you got that. Hey, let's trade. But again, they you got the Edomites, the so-called white man, mainly Amalek, the small tops, the people that's calling themselves isn't real people. And they've got everybody cornered, clutched, and pressed, and stressed every damn day about paying some bills with a currency that's not backed by anything. You got to think about that, man. That's witchcraft. It's real sorcery. People are stressed. It's people that's out here robbing, killing, stealing for the sake of getting that paper, man. Some paper that can easily burn in any fire. It's not like gold. If gold catch on fire, gold is not burning. And if it do get to a point where it gets so hot, it's just going to melt, turn into a liquid. And once it cools off, it's going to turn right back into a solid. Well, when you get this money, your damn house catch on fire and there's money in there, that shit going up with everything else. Anyway, so it says, in a note yesterday, J.P. Morgan's Chang and team unpacked the 6 Ds that will shape the global economy: deficits, deregulation, decarbonization, depopulation, deglobalization, and de-dollarization. Ooh, the 6 Ds. Of these factors, 2 in particular will put upward pressure on borrowing rates around the world, deficits and depopulation. And who's pushing the depopulation? Esau, Edom. The deficits is even him. Matter of fact, let's get Job 9:24. Because it's telling you that, there's too many people on the planet, is global warming, we gotta do this, we gotta do that. So hey, these people don't have no problems knocking off a lot of people. They don't have no problems getting rid of millions. If it was up to them, motherfuckers would kill off everybody but themselves. It'd just be 3 people on the planet. Job 9:24. It says, the earth is given into the hand of the wicked. He covered the faces of the judges thereof. If not, where and who is he? So the earth is given into the hand of the people that's running the earth. Who's running it? These so-called white people. You can't get around it. You can't say that they're not. Now you got China. They trying to bang. China got a pretty good economy. They trying to get out there. But their people are stressing in debt too. And you see what they're doing over there. They actually have a credit, a social credit score. Where basically, you get out of hand, you get out of pocket, you saying anything that they don't like, they can, cut your little money off and have your ass on the streets. And that's really what it's all coming to. And these people don't care nothing about you starving to death. They don't care anything about you, you being thirsty. They don't care nothing about that. They don't have to live in that world. They don't give a shit. They're the ones that's pulling in all the money, and they will work the shit out of your ass until your last breath, to get every single thing that they can get out of you. Once you turn the age of 60 to 70 and they can get no more work out of you, they can get no more working taxes out of you, well, you're through. You're done. You done already put in all your hard work, all those years into trying to save to get a house, and you want to kick back and retire. You got all these old people. I was just looking at the news, I think it was last night before last, but they talking about how the teenagers, how teenagers used to be able to go and get a summer job, and in some cases they still can with the city. They got these city programs and stuff like that. But I'm talking about like regular jobs. You used to be able to go here and apply for, some shit at a restaurant, or apply for a clothing store, or apply for a shoe store, or apply for a grocery store bag. Well, whatever. They're saying that the kids don't even have those job options anymore, because the older people, the older adults, are taking those jobs because they don't have no choice but to, really. They have to work a second job. They got to work a third job to keep up with the payments of the, how high shit is getting, man. Anyway, but the earth is given into the hand of the wicked, and this is Esau that's running things. And it's only going to get worse. Because I was just looking at another article. It's they just done the the new polls. Trump out here looking stupid as hell, because they're basically like, hey, the biggest job, or how do they word it? They word it as far as unemployment. Is more people unemployed than pretty much has ever been in history right now. But they're telling you that the economy is doing great, that the job world is doing great. But that's not true, man. People not working like that. Shit. I mean, people done got to a point where they done gave up even looking for a job. Okay, but anyway, it goes on to say, we'll get a little bit more, because it's quite a bit of an article. I don't want to get it all. I mean, it's, we can move through it, though. But we can get the main points and just move on. But damn, them 6 Ds is crazy work. It says, let me get the 6 Ds again. Deficits, deregulation, decarbonization, depopulation, deglobalization, and de-dollarization. Whew. Okay, but it says, turning first to deficits, JPM's research team wrote that a global breakdown in fiscal discipline is occurring in all corners of the world. See, it's not just... See, that's how we know that this, when that scripture that talks about small or great, rich or poor, free or bond, in Revelation 13, where it talks about no man will buy or sell, which we can get that, it's going to be globally. This is not going to just be an American thing, or, just somewhere in one corner of the world. No, they're putting all this together where everybody can get a goddamn microchip. That's what they're doing right now. They're stressing the world out. They're, pressure from above, pressure from below. They're squeezing the people, and they're just going to make people, so uncomfortable that they're eventually just going to give in and comply. The ones that don't, they're just going to die. They don't care, man. But what's going to come out of it in the end of it, or at least what they want or what they think is going to come out of it in the end of it, is that everybody is going to be on board eventually. They don't care how many people got to die to pull that off. They don't care, man. So it says global public debt has reached $100 trillion, reducing fiscal space, while elevated deficits are driving up interest rates. Yeah, man. Among economists, there are some debates as to the extent to which deficits drive interest rates. The theory is that an expanding national debt may spark fears that the government is less creditworthy, and the Federal Reserve would then increase the money supply to reduce the value of the debt, therefore creating inflation. And then from there, it's just going to be hyperinflation. Things are already inflated. Governments have leaned on fiscal stimulus via increased spending or tax cuts heavily during the Iran crisis. Yeah, you about to see some shit in about a month or two. The IMF reported in its most recent World Economic Outlook update, these increases to deficits or reductions in government revenue have been without well-identified offsets, with few signs of rebuilding fiscal space, JPM wrote. Fiscal space refers to the government's ability to increase spending or lower taxes without jeopardizing its financial stability. And they're not going to be able to do that, Salakia. You have to let that car pass, man. Going up the block with the music, nigga. So it says in the U.S., a larger stock of debt and higher interest rates, along with no political will to achieve fiscal consolidation anytime soon, point to higher term premium. JPM adds, referring to the return lenders expect for holding long-term bonds, demanding higher rates as a result. The unsustainable U.S. fiscal deficit has not yet caused much damage to the U.S. economy, since the U.S. has much more fiscal space than other countries. Okay, it says the U.S. remains the safest and strongest country in a time of geopolitical upheaval. The note adds, suggesting risk to the debt outlook will come from any dramatic military, political, energy, security, or economic setback that makes the U.S. no longer the safest and strongest. And we can see that now, because countries are really not trying to even deal with America. Trump just put 50% more tariffs on how many countries? I know the countries involved, the EU. So he's putting more tariffs even on his allies. So I'm assuming that maybe he's trying to make more money, considering, I don't know, man. Considering the oil game is trash right now. Because that oil is, I think the oil might be, it's got to be hit over $100 a barrel by now with this Strait of Hormuz thing. And with the jobs being down, I just seen something on unemployment as well. And you got people that have been cut off from you got millions of people that don't get food stamps anymore. So it's really just a recipe for disaster. Crime is going up. People are more stressed. People are just giving. People are just giving in. You got I just seen an article talking about the car payments, of course. To afford a car these days, people are, paying like $1,500 a month for a car payment, which is crazy work because there is more cars being repossessed than ever. There's more foreclosures on homes than ever. You know what I'm saying? People can't afford this shit. And then you got a lot of people, man, they don't have money management skills like that. A lot of people just don't. This newer generation, they don't have no money management skills, man. They don't really know how to, because it's not really taught like that in America. America don't teach you. The only people that really know about money is the rich, and how to do a bankruptcy and come up, and like Trump and them. You know what I'm saying? Like them, the ones that really know how money really moves. The ones that's into the stock market. The ones that they don't teach you shit like that in school. They don't want you to know about nothing like that because they get over on your stupidity. On your lack of knowledge. Right? But let me get this one that talks about that that thick clay. Esau is in that thick clay area right now. That thick debt. Habakkuk 2 and 6. Let me go into it. It's a lot. I mean, because we can really start from. Let me start at verse 3. I'll read it in the Amplified. It says, "For the vision is yet for the appointed future time. It hurries towards the goal of fulfillment, and so like it will not fail." Yeah, the Lord's prophecies will not fail. They're gonna happen. They're already happening. We can witness it. We can see it happening. Even though it delays, wait patiently for it, because it will certainly come. It will not delay. So we can see these things in movement if you're in the spirit. Look at the proud one. His soul is not right within him, but the righteous will live by his faith in the true God. And this is Esau. Look at the proud one. The proud one is Esau. The scripture says that pride cometh before destruction. Let me get that in the scriptures too. I'm gonna grab another Bible real quick, so I stay in that blue letter, just for the sake of the newcomers in that don't know what these scriptures are. Proverbs 16 and 18. And it reads, "Pride goeth before destruction, and a haughty spirit before a fall." And you're not going to get a more prideful place or more prideful set of people than these Edomites, the so-called white race. Starting from the top, they're elite. They're very prideful. And the scriptures will not return to the Lord void. The words of the Lord are going to go forth and do what he said they're going to do. Though it seems like it's been a while, or it's taken too long, or it don't seem as if it's going to happen at all, the scripture clearly says to wait for it. Let's get that back again. Because this is what's happening to Esau. We're starting to witness these scriptures actually come to pass right before our very eyes. Verse 3 again, verse 4, Habakkuk 2 and 4 in the Amplified AMP. Look at the proud one. His soul, no, hold on. No, that's what I wanted. But no, verse 3, that was the one. "For the vision is yet for the appointed future time, and it hurries towards the goal of fulfillment. It will not fail. Even though it delays, wait patiently for it, because it will certainly come. It will not delay." We're watching this prophecy play out right now, because that's been a long time ago. This prophecy is in the making, is moving right now. We're watching the scriptures move. Look at the proud one. His soul is not right within him, but the righteous will live by his faith in the true God. So that's what we're doing. You know, we're living by our faith in Yahweh H.I.M, because we know that this place is just it's just really a dream. You know, it's really it's something that's gonna fail. It's not gonna come. The dream that they have, or the vision that they have, so to speak, or their outlook for the future, is not going to happen, because the Lord has prophesied that it won't. Through the men of the Lord, that it's not going to happen. He's thinking that there's going to be another 250 years of white people, doing their thing, and then they get another 250 years, and then they get another 250 years, and just ongoing and ongoing. They're just going to rule. And that's not the case. The Lord is breaking them down now. But see, they're prideful because they have everything in a carnal way. When you think about it carnally, from a fleshly way, yeah, you can look at Esau and be like, man, this motherfucker would never be taken down. Look at all the shit he got. Look at how he's prospering, so to speak, in his way. He's got all the weapons. He's the one that's making all the moves. He's telling everybody what they can do, when they can do it, where they can go, when they can go there. When they got to be back, you need a passport, you need a social security number, you need a damn birth certificate, you need a car, you need a driver's license, you need everything that everybody needs overall, especially for us Israelites, you so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. We have to go to this man for once of all things. We have to go to him for a loan if we need a loan to actually get something, and he's going to throw a crazy interest rate on that shit, even if he give it to you. But he has the power to tell you, no, I'm not giving you shit. It don't even matter how much money you saved up and having to actually in the bank. He can still say, well, you know what? No, we don't want you to have that. Anyway, so verse 5, it says, "Moreover, wine is treacherous and betrays the arrogant man, so that he does not stay at home. His appetite is large like Sheol or the grave, and he is like death, never satisfied. He gathers to himself all nations and collects to himself all people as if he owned them. This is Esau. You can't say this is not the Edomites, man, the so-called white man. This is the point right here, verse 6. Will all these victims of his greed not take up a taunting song against him, and in mocking derision against him say, woe, judgment is coming to him who increases that which is not his? How long will he possess it? And woe to him who makes himself wealthy with loans. See, will your creditors not rise up suddenly, and those who collect from you awaken? Then you will become plunder to them for them, because you, king of Babylon, have looted many nations. All peoples who are left will loot you, because of human bloodshed, and for the violence done to the land, the city, and all its inhabitants. See? Woe, woe, judgment is coming to him who obtains wicked gain for his house, and thinks by doing so to set his nest on high, that he may be rescued from the hand of evil. See? You have devised a shameful thing for your house by cutting off and putting an end to many peoples. So you are sinning against your own life and forfeiting it. And that's what's going on with Esau, man. You know, he's cut off many people. Esau, the so-called white man, has done a lot, man. And again, we talk about these bankers. We talk about the elite because they're the ones that's really in charge. But you have, Edomites that, make a decent living. They might be, some millionaires. They might, have a couple of $100,000 in the bank. Or even Esau that just might make a good, cool $50,000, $75,000 a year. He's, he gets prideful and he cuts up, man. Let me see if I can find this other one. What is that? Is it James? Let me see. Yep, misuse of riches. James chapter 5, verse 1. Let me see how this reads in the Amplified. It says, come quickly, now you rich who lack true faith, and hoard and misuse your resources. Weep and howl over the miseries, the woes, the judgments that are coming upon you. Yeah, it's about to be this judgment that's happening. Your wealth has rotted and is ruined, and your fine clothes have become moth-eaten. Your gold and silver are corroded, and their corrosion will be a witness against you and will consume your flesh like fire. You have stored up your treasures in the last days when it will do you no good. Look, the wages that you have fraudulently withheld from the laborers who had mowed your fields are crying out against you with vengeance, and the cries of the harvesters have come to the ears of the Lord of Sabaoth. Woo. So this is what's coming to you, Edomites, man. It says, on the earth you have lived luxuriously and abandoned yourselves to soft living and led a life of wanton pleasure, self-indulgence, self-gratification. You have fattened your hearts in the day of slaughter. You have condemned and have put to death the righteous man. He offers you no resistance. And that's Jake, man. We haven't resisted Esau like that. You've had a couple of revolts where Jake was just fucking tired and like, man, we got to do something with this motherfucker, but that was all by the spirit and power of Yahweh Shai, but Jake really fighting against himself. But the Lord would raise up somebody to pretty much fuck Esau up, where they'll come up with a new law. That's pretty much about how we've gotten from slavery, being hung in a damn yard, or a cross being burned in your yard, to now today Jake can at least have a damn handgun and somewhat protect himself, even though if he go to court, he'll have to defend himself vigorously, and he got to have the right lawyer with some money to back himself, because money is a defense. Because still, even though they can't treat us like how they did back then, right now, we're still in their kingdom and under their rulership. So it's still hard for us, even if we go to court. But what I'm saying is, the Lord has brought us up to a certain extent, rather. But you Edomites, you're not going to pay. You're not going to get away for what you've done. You're going to pay. And all this debt, instead of just, because the earth is vast. It's a lot of resources in the earth, and it's enough to go around for everyone. But Esau, he wants to hoard every damn thing to himself and enslave everybody. That's what it's all about. He wants to have that perpetual that hold on you, Jake, man. Really, you so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. But see, this is not just America. This is happening globally, from what this article is saying. So I'm not going to go too much further into it. It says neither political party is expected to act until the Social Security cliff approaches in 2032, and we're praying that we're not here then. We're praying that the Lord be done came by then. The note from America's largest bank continues. It adds that some $600 billion in debt would need to be issued to address the shortfall, and potentially further spending cuts and higher taxes. We also note the demographic challenges that will lower savings and highlight the risk that aging populations and longevity could drive down equilibrium returns and even funded systems struggling. The demographic dividend that characterized the last 40 years is ending, and we view depopulation as an underappreciated risk that will reduce savings and contribute to higher interest rate. Well, that's Esau, man. He's the one that's out here, trying to depopulate and kill off every goddamn body, and then he's created a problem of people not having families no more. People are, hey, this man, he got the abortion centers on all the corners, man, and especially in you so-called blacks neighborhoods. He's the one that promotes abortions. But what has happened is some curses have started to land on their ass. So now the so-called white woman, she's going to abort their babies too. So they're not being born. They're dying off quicker than they're being born. See, before white women, they cherish having a family. They don't want nothing to do with that shit now. Esau done made it totally unaffordable for a woman and a man to get together and have children. How are you going to do it? When do you even have time to even raise the children, considering both of the parents got to work 3 jobs apiece? You need a damn full-time job just to take care of daycare. You need another full-time job to just deal with fucking rent and the basics. Then somebody else got to be working to handle, the car note. And, this shit is retarded, bro. So Esau's world has failed. But let's get Revelation 13, since that's what because this is what it's all leading up to. Revelation 13 and 16. It says, and he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads. And that word mark is going into a charagma. It's going into something actually going into your body, man. Like how you can tap and pay with your phone now. You can pull up your little wallet on your phone. They're about to take that and put inside the people. It's already out here. You can go online right now and pull up plenty of videos of people that actually have a chip in their hands and they're actually making payments with it. And this is what it's all boiling down to. That's the reason why they're coming up with all these data centers. That's the reason why they're coming up with all these, what we call them surveillance centers. But everything is going digital. People don't really carry cash too much like that anymore. You got these goofy ass niggas, they in a rap video with a stack, but niggas is not running around with no cash like that in their wallets like that. Nobody really is. They might have, the average person, it depends on, your little lifestyle. Some people, keep a couple $100 on them at all times, just in case, whatever. But, the average person, man, shit, they generally dealing with their debit card. They got their tap and pay on their phone. They got, Samsung Pay or Google Pay or PayPal or Zelle or whatever the fuck you dealing with. Cash apps, whatever. And the average person don't really carry no more than about $20 in they fucking wallet. Some people don't carry cash at all. A lot of banks are not dealing with cash no more like that. You go on the inside of a bank and you trying to get a nice lump. They don't even keep cash in some of them banks. They tell you to go to the ATM machine, and at most you can get out at a time is maybe about $500. Depends on how your account is set up. But anyway, verse 17 it says, and no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. Right? So you're not going to be able to do any shopping out here. They've already been talking about this. You look it up, universal basic income. I just done a lesson on that yesterday, where they're basically like AI is just gonna take off and do so great. It's gonna outperform everything to the point where you know, Elon Musk, he tried to make it seem as if it was just something, you know, something luxurious, like, oh, you're not gonna even have to work anymore unless you want to. You know, universal basic income, we're just gonna pay you to sit at home and this and this. But that's gonna come with something. If they're gonna pay you, you think they really gonna pay you to just sit at your house? You out your mind. That's going to come with something. They're going to want something from you. They're going to get to talking about fraud and all this. Well, if you got this much money out here, fraud shouldn't even exist no more. If you got AI doing all this and making trillions of, you know, like, why are you worried about a couple of dollars worth of fraud if there's fraud? You might as well just go ahead and say, hey, anything you want, just come on out and get it. You ain't even got to send. You ain't even got to send no check. You ain't got to send no money. What's the purpose of the money at that point? All you got to do is say, well, hey, shit, you know, we'll pay these stores, you know, or, you know, if it's money involved, we'll pay all the supermarket, any store that's around you. We don't care if it's shoes, clothes, jewelry, whatever you want. You just walk on in there and you get it. We got it covered. But of course, we know that that's not going to happen. They're going to need hey, that Social Security number, they didn't give you that motherfucker for nothing. For you Americans. So while you calling yourself Jill Scott or whoever the fuck you might be calling yourself, that shit don't matter. What matters is, what's your numbers? You know, you get a driver's license number, you get an ID number if you got an ID, if you're not old enough to get a driver's license. You, of course, got a Social Security number. That's your main number, you know. That number to go along with your you know, that number is gonna carry on into your digital space, man, your digital life. Because that's the first thing that they ask you for, even when you get a job. What's your Social Security number? Why do they need to know that? Because that's who you really are. They can call you by that name. Yeah, you got a first. You can have as many names as you want. There's some people out here that just got initials for their name. Nigga name just BK. BK Thomas. You know, AC this or, you know, whatever. I know people with names like that. Like, what that shit mean? Nothing. It's just what, you know, my mama called me, you know. They don't care nothing about that. What they need is a fingerprint. You know, that attaches you to them damn numbers they gave your ass at birth. That footprint. I remember they used to have a footprint and everything on that birth certificate. That's the reason why that birth certificate was so important. I don't know what they do now with the birth certificates, you know, but I remember back in the days, like shit, you know, old school, they would take a footprint. They would take a print of your foot and press it on that paper when you was a little baby, your little bitty, pretty, little cute little foot size. And they would take a handprint and they would put that shit on a birth certificate. So as you grow, your handprint not changing. It's just, you know, it's just expanding, so to speak. So they can use your birth certificate and look at those motherfucking your handprint and associate you with a crime if they need to. But I'm gonna end out there, man. I didn't want to keep this long, man. But hey, yeah, man, this is all boiling down to this mark of the beast, man. All this money, financial, anything that's got to do with finances these days when it comes to these banks, and you see what's going on. A lot of countries are already involved. They're already doing it. It's already situated. It's just a matter of time. And the way that this war is moving, because we know that the mark of the beast got to come before the actual real tightness of this World War III. And those things are in play. You have no idea how close we really are to these prophecies playing out. It's about time to get out of here. We're about out of here, man. So it's high time to awake out of sleep and to repent. Because this was a global. This is talking about globally, bro. This is not just talking about, you know, just somewhere here in the U.S. This is a global thing. And I've done videos. You can see all they talk about is chips. Chip companies. All these different chip companies out here. They building chips by the billions. They have chip. Why do you think they're building so many chips? You think they about to really make that many cell phones? I mean, you know, it's a lot of different electronics out here, you know, that need chips. You got cars, you got, you know, telephones, you got, TVs, your PlayStations, your Xboxes, you know, they making stuff like that in masses in the millions and millions too. But we're talking about chip companies that's making chips in the billions, man. I'm willing to bet you they already got them small grain of rice chips already on deck and ready to be issued to every single citizen on the planet right now. I'm willing to bet you that Esau got that shit on lock already. So all it's gonna take is a global shutdown, and then they're gonna reset. Once they reset, well, sir, we can't help you. Or you had $100,000 in the bank. Well, we have no records of that. And there's no records of any money ever being put into no. See, they gonna take everything that you've ever worked for. You had 2 million, 3 million, and then they might come at you and say, well, you know what? Well, what we can do is, you know, give you a portion of what you're talking about. But then they don't even have to do that because what it's gonna come down to is you needing to eat. You need to eat, you need water, you need to survive. And so with that alone, you're going to forget about it. You might be disgruntled. You might be pissed. You might be ready to go and tear some shit up about that 200 grand or 300 grand, that million that you had. You worked all your life and you hoarded that money and you sat on that money and you shitted on everybody and you got prideful because you had a decent little bank account. That shit, man, it's not going to matter at that time, you know, because you might get pissed about it and want to do something about it. But overall, you're going to want to survive. You're going to want food and water. You're going to want a place to live. You're going to still want some of them comforts. And the only way to get them comforts is you're going to have to comply. That's it, man. That's, you know, Esau coming down the pipe with all that. So, you know, just get set. We ready. You know, we're praying that we're ready. Well, you know, everybody going to be as ready as they need to be because the Lord going to make sure of that. Everybody going to play a lot in this shit, man. So, you know, we're just praying to Yahweh Bashim for mercy. And we just live for our daily bread. You know, we go to work, we get our little daily bread, we come home. The Lord has blessed us with enough to keep some gas in the car. We can go to camp, keep a phone on so we can upload the videos, you know, keep, you know, some food in the house, you know, pay the rent, you know, the little bills that we have and repeat. And so that's a beautiful thing. That's a blessing from the Lord in this captivity that we're in. See, Jake be trying to do too much. Jake trying to live like an American. They want to live the American dream, but that American dream is going to get a lot of people caught up because they're going to want to continue with that American dream. And the only way they're going to be able to continue is if you can comply. Hey, bring the children, you know, to this shipping station over here at this particular zip code, such and such, such and such. And we'll see you at 1 o'clock p.m., you know, and, you know, we'll put some money on your chip immediately so you can just leave here and go and shop. You know, so with that, I pray that the lesson was edifying. Kwame Yashala and a Bible Ball.